The special call meeting this morning for Thursday, January 13th, 2022. The hour is 9:05. Apologize for being a bit delayed. Everybody has to get supplied with coffee first. We have two items on the agenda. Item one is a discussion with the Heart of Danville. Item two is the Main Street Letter of Commitment, which will be as a result of item one. Courtesy would dictate that the Heart of Danville have the podium, and we can go from there.
What we'd like to do this morning is to offer a brief presentation, and then from there we will have a discussion.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I appreciate you all being here today, and I appreciate that you took special time out of your schedule to hear what we had to say and to consider our proposal. For those of you who, I'm going to take my mask off. It's better to talk that way. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mary Conley, and I am the newly appointed Executive Director to the Heart of Danville. And our goal here today is to have a letter of commitment with the Kentucky Main Street to be signed so we can move forward with our planned board ideals and goals through 2022. I have presented and handed out before you some items in conversations with the city manager. He suggested that we list items that would, the reason to be an accredited Main Street program, what benefits those would be to the city, and I'd like to also add to our community. And I'd like to go over those very quickly, and thank you for this. So the Main Street program benefits what we feel like to city government. Obviously, number one, and the biggest one, is recruitment of new businesses. And with the recruitment of new businesses, it increases your tax base and increases your occupational tax collections. Also, we understand and can guide best use of buildings with training, which results in better services available, and which in turn turns into a healthier economy because you have more foot traffic downtown. Which then, if you have a healthier economy, obviously you have increased property values and in turn increased revenue from property tax. In addition to that, we can educate our property owners and the public for an increased awareness of historic properties. We can't forget how important, when you have a walkable community, people come to Danville to see our historic buildings, just like they do in Perryville and other places of the same. We also can apply for Main Street America grants that are available only to accredited Main Street programs or communities, which I'm in the process of applying for one now. We have access and can engage at no charge Heritage Council staff architects, and those are beneficial to the business owners, as well as property owners if they plan to do any kind of renovations. We can facilitate and act as a liaison on behalf of the city for city and downtown issues, community input, if the city needs community input on a project, and projects themselves, which we have one coming up, and that's listed here below. Facilitate and coordinate downtown business meetings, such as the streetscape, which is going to be very important here in the next couple of months, and the facilitate those downtown master plan discussions, because I know you have had meetings, the city has had meetings, and would like to have public input on those plans that are being presented. Also, ongoing review of city ordinance. It's something I can do pertaining to downtown, keeping your ordinances pertaining to downtown current and updated. Perform downtown economic development activities on behalf of the city of Danville. And I need to clarify that I know we have an EDP, and the executive director of EDP does recruitment, but I think personally and in conversations with others that the businesses that EDP recruits are of a different nature than just a downtown Searcy or an antique store or a bookstore. They don't go to the EDP and fill out one of their portal forms looking for space. They come straight to the heart of Danville, and because they have confidence in our knowledge of the properties and what's available, they come to us and we help facilitate that for new businesses or relocating businesses, or even businesses downtown that we currently have who would like to expand and grow into a larger space which would accommodate their sales, better sales. So taking number 12 and leading in number 12 into economic development activities on behalf of the city, we have a great relationship with the Kentucky Small Business Development Center. And so we have access and can engage new businesses as well as existing businesses to help them grow and succeed at no cost. They can get confidential business coaching, business planning, access to capital, marketing assistance, market research, and business training services. Also, again, another part of that is recruiting new businesses. We work with businesses for best placement. You know as well as I do that a restaurant needs a different space than a merchandising business, which in turn turns into a healthier economy. And one of the things that our office is responsible for is the collection of reinvestment statistics, which as Pass County Treasurer, I always felt was so important for EDP to collect statistics so that we can follow trends, whether it be new businesses coming in, businesses leaving, why are they leaving, what types of new businesses are coming in, how are you growing? And these statistics help us understand the trends of our downtown economy. And these can be used and shared with EDP as our partner to help identify those trends and use those for analyses. Also, reducing number of vacant buildings by reimagining upper story living for either living or businesses. And I say that because, upper story may be appropriate for some of those businesses that are on first floor and may be able to conduct the same type of business on a second floor if it's appropriate and renovated and comfortable. And we can fill some of those spaces with another type of business that draws people downtown. There's a big difference, as you know, between service and merchandise and art. Create property owner renovation incentive packages by understanding what has worked in other communities, and I say nationwide, not just in Kentucky. Danville is unique in its own. We are not like any other community, and we have different assets, a different layout. We have a very small footprint as opposed to a lot of other communities that sprawl, and we have to be understanding of that. Also, we have the basic understanding of how to help property owners to apply for historic tax credits, which are still available, not only on the state level, but on the federal level. We've done that, the county has done that. St. Peter and Paul Church, that I'm the finance chair for, has done that. And so it's a benefit to those people who understand historic properties. And if you have a contributing building that's in the register, these are available to you when you do renovations. We also can provide and will provide public education on a variety of presentation best practices topics, as well as create pamphlets and information to those businesses and property owners who may want to consider renovations. Create downtown programming for new, renewed, repeated exposure, programming is the term that we use, that advances strategic goals that incrementally change the face of our downtown buildings and merchant activities. And I say this that, you know, an activity of doing some type of pop-up on a second floor, so we're doing some economic development and inviting people to come upstairs, view the space, provide tours, and possibly have somebody who might be interested in as a business owner, renovating that space, receiving input and the desire to do so. And also work with tourism to promote our downtown, because that's what we should be doing. So those are the items that the Heart of Danville has presented to the city as benefits to being a Main Street program. And I leave you with this. The Heart of Danville asks the city, why wouldn't you want to be an accredited Main Street program? Why wouldn't you want to be? There's, you know, we're here. We're not doing anything different than we have been in the last couple of years. I'm talking about as far as different activities. And we still have a very thriving downtown. Why wouldn't you want to have the best downtown that you could have? Nationwide, there are Main Street Americas, Main Street cities all over the United States who benefit from Main Street philosophies. And why have you signed the exact same letter every year if you didn't see a benefit in the Main Street philosophy? That's a question. And also, a vibrant downtown is comprised of blocks of walkable, diverse shops, one after another, and a variety of restaurants that you can pop into when you want to sit down for a break. That's what attracts people to downtown, both your local community members and visitors. They like to come downtown and they like to walk and see and experience the downtown. So thank you. I guess we will enter into the next phase of our workshop. Correct, Mayor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? No, I'm just here to help answer questions.
Questions?
This was a general thing. I was just thinking, you know, obviously, you guys have been working a lot of years on millions of dollars on sidewalks. So it has to be coupled with some type of program. So, I mean, what are you all thinking for how to support downtown best? If we invest in the sidewalks and invest in, that's my question. Like, we need to find some ways to support downtown if we're going to spend money on sidewalks.
Let me ask our city manager, if you would, please, sir, since that's kind of a physical plant question.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to it when you really get into it. And the first thing we would start with is to suggest that we go back to the position of community liaison that the city needs, that we've talked a lot about. We need to be in more direct contact with businesses ourselves as a city. We do run out of labor when it comes to that, and you end up with a city engineer and the city manager doing a lot of communication, bridging the gap between some member of the Economic Development Team, Economic Development Partnership, and some business, and so we do that a lot. So we need to figure that part out. And then when you get into how to service a downtown group of businesses, there is a conceivable benefit to having a downtown organization. There's not a question of that, and we're not necessarily judging whether or not we have a downtown organization, which is a membership organization of all the businesses, which does help the city communicate and can help the city communicate when we're doing a construction project, such as the streetscape project that's getting ready to take. So all those are true. And big other issues like garbage, for example, we need help facilitating how to simplify garbage collection downtown, get rid of the cans on the streets. There's a benefit to figuring that out in partnership with the downtown businesses. The question at hand, though, is not necessarily whether or not we see credibility in having a downtown organization. It's whether or not we see maintaining membership in the Kentucky Main Street program. That's the question at hand, really. That's the question with a deadline, essentially. When you get into that, you could, again, you can easily see that the downtown organization embedded within our economic development community aids in community communication. And if properly assembled under one umbrella, we've talked a lot about having a single point of communication. That's critical. We right now, we have had a trend of our downtown organization diverging from the economic development community. We had a move out of Constitution Square. Those things are just facts. And so we've got to figure that out as a downtown. Like, we've got to figure that out as a group. We can't, we have to work together. The EDP has indicated to us that, they still haven't gotten any of the data that has been collected on vacancies and availabilities and your
So Earl, let me stop you there.
space inventory.
That's where they have to work together.
Correct,
And
correct.
that's where the EDP, because the EDP doesn't necessarily work with small business. There's a huge difference in working with industries and working with big business and working with small business. We have lots of incentives for big business. We have no incentives for the small business owner in this town. So that's where generally the EDP should be handing off any small businesses straight to the heart. Because those are the businesses that we have all the programs to work with and nurture and help.
Right. Yeah,
So-
and that's
so
true, but let me interrupt you there real quick. So what we're talking about is one voice, and what we see when we go outwardly and when we do our research on what other successful communities are doing is they're not segregating those tasks out to different organizations. They're maintaining good communication through the center, and they're using the support of these other organizations back to the center, right? And they're trying to create one umbrella so that there will always be issues outside of what Group A can accommodate. So they don't just send a business out to Group A and let them figure out the end result. They let them work with it, but they constantly are together, right? And so I think that's important to reflect on, because again, what you're demonstrating is a need to do, we like to see a downtown organization that is vibrant and that is functional, right? The question, though, is whether or not we need to sign the letter of commitment for the Main Street program. And what we find when we do a lot of other research, and we can get into it, is that the Main Street program is continuing to sign the letter of commitment, which you've done. She's asking the question, why are you signing the exact same letter? Why are you not wanting to sign the exact same letter you've signed every year? Well, why keep doing it? If it doesn't benefit your community, why are you continuing to do something? Why are you partnering?
We were a benefit in the last 10 years.
Well, the Main Street organization is a benefit, but I'm talking about specifically, why are we a member of the Kentucky Main Street program? No one is suggesting, and I'm not either, that we don't have a main downtown organization, right?
So the Main Street program does benefit Danville.
So the question you have in front of you today is not
So you want to know
what to do.
how the Kentucky Main Street program benefits Danville.
But that's what
benefits
we
us
presented
directly.
to.
And when we go through the letter of commitment, and then it's hard to discern direct local benefit from the program. And I go back to this. And
I think
and
Plaid
number-
Elephant would disagree with you there.
Can I just interrupt for a moment?
Yeah,
Part of the point of this meeting, before we get into a lot of back and forth, is the different functions of the certified local government and the Kentucky Main Street program and Heart of Danville. And I would like to talk more about that.
Yep.
And then we can get into a discussion about who does what and what the benefits are.
right. Well, that was my next point. So then, and we attached the little summary sheets on your desk for you to look at, and they're straight off the website, so they're accessible documents. But, you know, so what you see is most communities are diverging from signing and partnering with the Kentucky, or the National Main Street organization and focusing on your local organization and your local improvements
What are your
within your
statistics
community.
on that?
I'm sorry?
What are your statistics on that?
Well,
When
you
say
only have
most are diverging
23
from
cities left out of.
Mayor, if I may, to promote a healthy discussion, I think the Hart made their presentation. I think it'd be beneficial for you all to take a seat, let the city manager make his presentation, and then the commission will guide the discussions and questions. And if we need to go back and forth between there, I think that'd be more appropriate for the setting and healthiness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Yeah, and so then, in terms of what the letter says on the Main Street program, there's 23 cities, as noted on the state website, left out of, in Kentucky, we have 159 population of 2,000 and up. Only 23 left are still working through the Main Street program. And so as time is passing, as we do research, people are diverging from the Main Street program, but they are still maintaining, most communities are still trying to maintain a downtown organization to support our investment locally. And what it means is that, or what the indication is that the Main Street program signing the letter of intent, and I go back to this one, number 11 on the letter of intent says, the Kentucky Heritage Council receives money from the state of Kentucky. Write your senator and representative annually to let them know the importance of so you're lobbying for a state agency in your letter of commitment. How does that help your local community when our focus is to get business development downtown and to support our local businesses directly and to get people downtown? The number one priority is to get people downtown, right? There's nothing, we are, in the letter of commitment, we are gathering a lot of data and sending it to the state. Well, Mary correctly indicated that we gather data, and that data is helpful to the EDP. We don't need to be a member of the state program to gather our own data and report to ourselves, right? We can do that ourselves. And so then when you get into the letter, then there's certain commitments you're making, though. And the problem is you are making commitments to, for example, having a full-time director, which I don't know, have you worked, I mean, you know, you've not had a director in a while, and we know that, but you're committing to having a full-time 40-hour-a-week director, and I don't know that we've worked 40 hours in a long time since probably Nick left. And so as a permanent director, you're violating the letter of intent if you're not doing that, right? And so when you go into it, then you're agreeing that you're going to promote downtown and market, and you know, there's things like that you're guaranteeing them you're doing by signing the letter of intent. But you don't need to sign the letter of intent to market your downtown. So the question is, then what benefit is it just to tell the state, hey, we're promoting our downtown, when we need to be worried about what happens in our downtown a lot, right? And so then the idea of historic preservation, and when you get into that color sheet I provided you, the first 3 pages is the Certified Local Government Program, or the first 2, I'm sorry. Historic preservation is embedded in the Certified Local Government Program. That is where we've coordinated our VHB, and our historic preservation person is Joni House. That used to be a Heart of Danville function, or it was embedded, and Ann Yeager talked about at the last meeting how that didn't seem appropriate to her, that you have the enforcement officer, is what you called it, embedded in the organization promoting the businesses. Well, so we've pulled Joni in-house, and so part of the reduction of funding for the HART over the years has been the fact that we now employ that person in-house, right? And so the Certified Local Government Program we're doing through Bridget's work and through Joni's work, right? We're maintaining our Certified Local Government Program, and that should not go away because that's the core value, the core center point for historic preservation management on the city side, right? The Main Street organization, when you look at their 4-point approach, is more about, which is on your last, starting with your third page from the back, it says about the Main Street 4-point approach. It's about economic vitality, organization, which is maintaining a good downtown organization. It's about promotion, and which is honestly, we don't have a lot of evidence that we've complied with that. So why are we going to make representation to the state that we've done a really good job? We're not. What are we doing to promote our downtown? I don't know, right? It's not quantifiable. For example, what measuring sticks most people have used are what, and I hate to say this because it gets characterized as the party planner. Well, yeah, what downtown events have we had though, right? Those are run through your downtown organizations, typically. Now, does that mean that they're funding everything tied to that? No. Typically, it turns into a coordination role where then CVB participates sometimes depending on the event. The chamber pulls in volunteers and can pull in support. And then the city oftentimes provides police, security, public works support, and a sundry of different, and sometimes direct funding, such as the Brass Band Festival. And so, have we done any of those over the last couple of years? I know COVID hit, but we didn't do, other communities have continued to do those things, right? So I would suggest that we're not compliant with our 4-point approach now. So how do we, and the 4-point approach doesn't, and design, and you're right, is verifying the physical shape of things and make sure, but that's what you're, if we're talking about historic preservation, that's what your CLG certification confirms, right? Which is what Joni and Bridget do, again, with the DHB. So when we look at the program, you struggle to identify why you would, so when you ask the questions at the bottom, why wouldn't you want to be a nationally accredited program, but what's the benefit? There's no discernible benefit. And when you read when you actually read the text of the letter of intent, all you're doing is telling the state what you're doing to promote yourself. But how does that help you when you can just tell yourself, right? So then the second thing is why wouldn't you want to have the best downtown that you could have? Well, of course we do. Everyone desires that end result. The question is not, though, whether or not everybody wants the best downtown. I mean, it's why the city commission is investing in the streetscape. They've already authorized a project where we will come back with bid results to go forward. We've done a downtown master plan. I think the city commission has outwardly demonstrated a desire to have the best downtown that we could have, right? Through funding and through effort, through meetings, et cetera. And so why have you signed the exact same letter every year if you didn't see a benefit? Why continue to do it? Why just do something because we've always done it? If it's not a discernible benefit to the community by signing the letter, then why do it? But we do agree that we do need a Main Street organization that helps communicate for us, between us and downtown, and come up with ideas when we have an issue like with the streetscape. So there's a benefit to having a downtown organization. The question is whether or not you do the Main Street program. So that's really all we would suggest. And I know it's not a clean presentation, it's more of a conversation because it is philosophy. I mean, when you read the letter of intent, you have to decide, is this a benefit for the community? You're committing to funding things that, I don't know that we're doing, to be honest with you. There's no hard evidence
Does that
that we've
answer your
done.
question?
Yeah, and I appreciate that clarification. I thought today was a letter of commitment more to the Heart of Danville, and it's not. It's just
We're
to
talking about the letter of
being an
commitment.
accredited program. So
Correct.
thank you for clarifying that.
Earl, does the city or our local Main Street group, do we get any money from the accredited program?
We get historic preservation work through the CLG program,
Because Joni's there?
because the assembly of information she provides and the work that she does, we have received grants tied to that, yes. Which is, again, yeah, and then the training grants are helpful. But the Certified Local Government Program, we would not suggest separation from that program. Like that is about your.
That's a separate issue.
But that is a totally separate discussion, and that's where your historic preservation occurs, not with your Main Street program, which is really designed about getting people downtown, promoting your downtown. Economic vitality is getting people downtown, right?
Getting them in the shops and in the restaurants. and
Getting
in
them
the businesses.
downtown so that businesses survive.
Comments, questions, complaints?
Let me turn myself on here. I was going to ask if there was a.
Just a moment, please.
No, that was my question, if you all wanted to answer a couple of Earl's comments.
So the question, once again, about the preservationist, it's not Ann Yeager's opinion of what a preservationist is. We have huge problems on Main Street due to all the years that the Heart of Danville director should have never been allowed. The Heritage Council would never allow that now to happen. So we have a building on Main Street that's virtually unrentable due to that situation. Had you had your own preservationist, who was your authoritative, once again, that's why it's not Ann Yeager's opinion, it's fact. We have a building that has no Main Street access. So when a building has no Main Street access, how many businesses are going to move in there? The one building that we have available to rent downtown right now doesn't have doesn't have street side access. We've shown it to 4 different entities. None of them want it because it doesn't have street side access.
But I have a question to that. Thank you for your response. What does that have to do with this annual letter of commitment?
So the big thing that it has to do with the annual letter of commitment, Plaid Elephant's a perfect example of taking a space that was unused and didn't have Main Street access or didn't have street side access. The Heart of Danville used the state architect to help redesign that location, that space, that building. In the previous years going back, had they done that with the Gilcher building, it would be a different ballgame right now with the Gilcher building. You could have a business in there. But Plaid Elephant, so the Heart of Danville worked with the building owner and the business owner through the state architect, reimagine what that space would look like. All the I's were dotted, all the T's were crossed, took it to Joni. Joni signed off on it, and they moved forward. There was no fanfare, everything was smooth sailing. But that's because we used the state architect to do that. And that's one of the things that's available to us only because we're a state Main Street program.
Okay, let me play a little devil's advocate with you just for the sake. So if it's a state architect, a state employee, they're not gonna deny their services to any community that requests it? Or will they deny services?
They provide the architect through the Certified Local Government Program,
Okay.
right? Well, it's the same office.
So,
And so you do
let me-
have access to the same resources through the Certified Local Government Program that you do the Main Street program.
Can we let Lisa talk about that?
So we have someone from that office on our board.
Would that be beneficial? Sure, go ahead.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi,
Hello, good morning.
I'm Lisa Thompson. I'm a member of the Heart of Danville Board, but I also work at the Kentucky Heritage Council. I manage the National Register program for the state. I wasn't here to speak on behalf of the Heritage Council, but I do know something about the Certified Local Government Program and how it works with the Main Street Program. The services of the state architect are only available to Kentucky Main Street programs. That is not available to certified local government cities. While I'm here, I would like to say that, Earl's right, that the decision that you all are making is about whether or not you want to be a Main Street program. What Earl is describing is not a Main Street program. And as the Heart of Danville, its independent 501c3 board has voted to support being not only a Main Street program, which is a philosophy, which is a standard of metrics, but it also wants to be an accredited Main Street program. And an accredited Main Street programs means that you're the best. You're the top of, you're the cream of the crop. And so the Heart of Danville board thinks that that's really important for our community. And why a city who has been a Main Street program since 1986, who has won the Great American Main Street Award, would want to turn its back on a program that has successfully worked in so many communities, I frankly don't understand. I think if you look back and you see the history of the Heart of Danville, and you look at the last 10 years, and you see the structure that it was put under the EDP, I think that you also come to the same conclusion that many of you up there have, and many in this community have, that the EDP hasn't been serving us very well. And so what the Heart of Danville really wants to do is it wants to go back and it wants to focus on the 4 points. We want to do it comprehensively. We don't want to just do promotions. We want to do it all. Because when you do it all and you work it all, you win. And what we really want to do is we want to light a fire downtown. And the only way you light a fire downtown is by supporting and creating an environment where small business can nurture and grow. So,
But you also have to get those people into the businesses for the businesses to grow and be nurtured.
You
So what is happening to make that happen?
Well, the Heart of Danville is working really closely with all the business owners and the property owners. We are trying to create more activity downtown by increasing businesses. Activity is created by sort of having one business next to another business next to another business. As Ann Yeager has explained many times, it does not help that a block of 8 businesses, that only 2 of them are services where you can really go in and buy something and walk out. Downtown Danville is not a destination today. Downtown Danville has a series of destination businesses. People come downtown, they park their car, they go into Cersei, they get in their car and they go home. They go to the Dry Stack coffee shop, they get their coffee, they go home. We want to create a vibrant downtown where people can park, walk. I am so enthusiastic about the downtown sort of streetscape plan that will create a friendly, walkable environment. And if we had more restaurants, more businesses, you're going to generate activity. And you're going to generate activity 365 days a year, and not just one day when there's a parade.
So
it's really, let me say this, it's really about a philosophy. And Earl's right. You have to decide as a community, do you want to support the Main Street approach? And if you don't, that's your choice.
Well, the Main Street approach, to be frank, has got 4 parts to it.
It does.
And it's not just talking about economic vitality, it's talking about promoting your downtown. It's talking about, at the end of the day, all four point back to getting people downtown.
It does, you're right.
And so then we can do that and not partner with the Kentucky Main Street program in order to accomplish that.
Well, then you're
And so,
not,
so then the question is, why do it?
well, then
and-
you're not
and-
a Main Street program. It's really simple.
Well,
Either if
we
you're-
we can be a Main Street program and adhere to four principles without being a partner to the state agency. I mean,
Or
we can
reporting to
we can do our
Frankfurt or-
own, I mean, there's nothing wrong, and so frankly, that's why communities have let their Main Street programs go. It's a philosophy that at state level has aged out, and as communities have gotten bigger, what we find is when we go through our downtown master plan, is that Danville doesn't have an abandoned warehouse district that easily fits restaurants into. That our downtown, and the reason we struggle, as you all are correctly pointing out, that there may be a shortage of space, the reason for that is our downtown needs to grow. And when we sought advice from professionals, that's what they told us too. And which is why, the downtown master plan calls for an expansion, an effort to expand building, usable building space beyond 4th Street to the west. It comes up with strategies in order to contribute to the private sector doing that. And because we do need new restaurant space downtown, because the banks still have to have buildings to be in too. And so our problem is, when you go down to Main Street, is that there's not a lot of vacancies. And I know that we've tried to talk about the church down on the corner, but the church needs somewhere to go too. And so what our obstacle is, how do we grow our downtown? And that's what multiple consultants that we've talked to, that when we come in, that's what we can easily observe when we just go down the street. I mean, but being partner to the Main Street program at the state level doesn't accomplish any of those things.
Earl, does it hinder it?
Well, and that's what other communities have said. So when we go talk to other communities and find out what they say, and that's a great point, the indication is the Kentucky Main Street program is holding you back from doing the heavy lifting necessary to grow your downtown.
How so?
How so?
Well, and to be honest with you, other than just that statement, I can't say how it restricts you. What my perspective is how does it help you, right? And then so, and maybe you can answer this, but so this letter of commitment is a legal document you're binding yourself to. And so then the Main Street America program announces that they are going to have some sort of presentation January the 27th or 28th, 2 days before your letter is due, that they're going to communicate, roll out a holistic set of 6 new standards aimed to elevate and guide your organizations to focus and programming efforts. So go back. While we talk about economic vitality, we're talking about programming. The core value of the Main Street system is to get people downtown, is to program that space. It's not about just keeping a list of properties. The EDP does that, right? Or should be doing that for us. But when we read this, what's concerning is we're signing a letter of commitment, and we don't even know what we're committing to at this point. Through the Main Street America's own communication. They're not communicating to you what those standards are until the 27th or 28th. They've not even, members can join us either day. That's when you learn what your new standards are. And to me, it's just not a program that benefits a local community anymore, because the demand on local communities is not just painting the facade. It is structural improvements, it's wholesale renovations to buildings to get them in them. The Main Street program doesn't, it's about programming and getting people downtown. That's
Well-
what 3 of your 4 tenants directly contribute to that.
Well, respectfully, I'm going to disagree with everything you just said. Respectfully.
Can I pose a question here?
Yes, of course.
So here's where I am. This letter, to me, looks like a checklist. It's Heart of Danville Main Street program saying they're going to do the things on this letter.
It's about the city and the park doing it together.
But it lines out what the responsibilities are. How do we know you've done your part? Where is the proof? Where are the letters that have been written to the, you've been without a director more than with a director. The organization is supposed to report to the local governments quarterly. The board, I'm sure you meet, regularly comprehensive approach to downtown revitalization, using the 4 points. I mean, you keep saying this, you're saying. Were letters written to our
Yes.
representative? Okay, well, where are they? And where are the minutes from your all's meetings?
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I
so
don't know.
I just don't have a lot of proof that
So may I answer?
this has been done.
So may I answer? So we
Yeah.
have 30-plus volunteers who've been working for the past 2 years since our executive director resigned due to the pandemic. 30-plus volunteers. 14 who have busted their rear ends, excuse my language. When we were told that you all wanted to see us stand on our own 2 feet, those were the mayor's words, that he wanted to see the heart stand on its own 2 feet. Because we did get swallowed up for a long time by the EDP. That system, that umbrella didn't work. It didn't work effectively. So our volunteers made a decision in 2020 that they believed that it was worth saving. And our board busted their rear end. They found their own office. They raised their own money, enough money, because the city does not give enough money, to hire a full-time director. So they worked tirelessly. We have a number of hours, but I can tell you that that's a low number of hours that our people put in, because I know that I didn't keep track of all my hours. Both of my businesses will tell you that I have given, I should be at the funeral home right now, for God's sake. I've got a funeral in a while. But, so I can tell you that I haven't accounted for all the hours I've put in. The Heart has been a full-time job for me and for the rest of my board. And they are all 100% volunteer. They moved the office, they secured the office, they found the office, they did an amazing fundraiser.
And that's
So
okay.
when you say that we haven't done these things, that's not true. The design committee has worked tirelessly to try to figure out the trash cans. They've worked with the solid waste about where the dumpsters would go, and looked at all of they've talked to Bridget, they've talked to Earl, they talked to Josh about where these things would go. So there are all these projects that they have been working on. Yes, we've been in a pandemic, and there have not been, and we have not, that's the Heart's biggest problem, is the Heart has not done a good job of tooting its own horn and saying, you know what, this is what we did. We helped the Platte Elephant. We've been trying to figure out moving the cans off Main Street. All of these things that they have been working on, we've done 3 downtown cleanups over the past 2 years. All these things, the Heart's not good at saying that. I'll be the first to admit that. We're the only entity that is promoting businesses. How many of you have been in every business in the past 2 years? Every single downtown business? Because I can tell you that our board has. Every single downtown business.
But you're still in violation of number 2 by not having a director for more than 3 months and not reporting to the local government at least quarterly. It is not our job
we report
to
to you.
provide
We report
funding
to
for
you.
your director.
We report to you. You get all of our financials. They get sent to the city.
Quarterly?
Yes,
No,
at
no,
monthly.
monthly.
Monthly, you get all of our financials.
And if you want me to start sending minutes, I can do that as well. It's just not in the contract that we have with the city whenever you all fund them.
You get our financials monthly, and we've talked tirelessly about, because I came to you 2 years ago and said, I don't think it's a smart thing to try to hire someone in the middle of a pandemic.
I
We
go
had
back to
that
this, we're not
discussion.
talking about the viability of a downtown organization.
No,
We're talking about
I'm
a
answering my
commitment to
question,
the
that's all.
letter, though, too. So in focusing on that is.
Our board believes in it, though. Our board believes, but we've also done all the work. So that's also the big difference. We've spent.
Can I add to that too?
Well, one of those things, you know, and I hear you talking, but one of your key points is promotion, right? And the chamber and the CVB, and the city, we do try to promote, other entities besides the Heart do promote businesses, right? Like that's factual. And then you got Facebook posts, for example, which is a free promotion. It's really easy to do. The city has had 19 separate Facebook posts talking about activities or just things that are happening, right? Or things the city is doing since December the 16th, which is your last Facebook post, right? The city has had 19 separate posts, not talking about boil water advisories. I'm talking about posts. The EDPs had 3, which is low. The CVBs had 14, not even considering Kendall's post on his private side where he was transitioning, right? But by comparison, the Heart of Danville's had no post since December the 16th. Bardstown's Main Street program has had 30 posts. And so we're not meeting our obligations, and so why are we going to tell the state we are? We're not promoting ourselves. We're not doing those things.
I'd like to see if I could provide some clarity here. I think there's a need for 2 conversations. One is, which is on our agenda today, and that's this Main Street letter of commitment. The second conversation is, how do we better our Main Street, which is what it's called, Main Street, but we do have a area that is outlined as far as our focus. Main Street can be a little confining in that. So 2 conversations. One is about this letter. The second is, okay, how do we collaboratively make the effort for our downtown better? If we can leave that out for now,
Okay.
and focus on the issue at hand, and that is there value in us? Is there value in us signing this accredited program annual letter of commitment? Are there things that we can do without this letter of commitment? Are there constraints that this letter of commitment provides? And that's what I would like to focus on, because I think that's the question.
And what happens if this letter is not signed? What does that look like?
We maintain our certified local government, and there's not you're either accredited or you're not. I mean, there's not anything identifiable by me or that has been communicated to me that, other than reporting and being able to say you're a member, which one of their tenants, number 12, says, we agree that we're not going to call ourselves an accredited program. Well, why do we have to sign a letter of intent to do that? I don't, it's just you don't see a lot of discernible benefits from signing the letter.
May
You're
I answer that
committing
question
yourself.
too?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I guess the question is, what would happen, or if you don't sign the letter of intent? You have to keep in mind that we're a 501c3 independent organization who has a philosophy about what the Main Street program is about and what the Heart of Danville is to this community and what they represent. And they have very specific goals that are in a work plan that has been handed out to the commissioners and the mayor and city management on a regular basis through 2021. There's information in there about what their ideals are, about the 4-point approach. Each one of those 4-point approaches has, and they identify programs and initiatives in those areas. And what I do at the end of the year is there is a detailed report card that I fill out that says whether or not we attained what the board's work plans as laid out. Did we attain those goals? Where are we with those goals? So to answer your question, you have a board that if you all choose not to sign the letter of intent, you have a board that's going to meet to decide whether or not their philosophies are important enough to the city of Danville to either continue forward or to disband themselves if they feel as if they don't have the accredited Main Street.
That's not what we're asking you to do at all.
Oh, I know that, but I'm just saying that the board is separate from the city. Keep that in mind. You have a board that's going to make a decision about what they want to do.
But you can still continue that work. You just can't use this little trademark name.
But there's a lot of information that is funneled down to me because we're a Main Street America program, and there's a lot of beneficial training, there's a lot of beneficial information, there's people who are way smarter than me who deal in Main Streets every single day of their life, not just as a consultant, as a downtown consultant, people who develop Main Streets like Charleston and places that are destinations because of the way that they're developed and the historic significance that they have to the area.
Mary, how long have you been the executive director?
Since November 1st, but you have to remember, I've been downtown for
Oh, no,
many years. Yes.
That's not what I was.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
not mine.
Since November 1st. Full-time. I was part-time since March 15th, I think it was.
Well, I guess that's part of my thought process, and one of the things I'm having trouble with is to hold you to a standard you haven't been there long enough to even start achieving.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm in full concert with the philosophy of the standards.
I understand that, but you haven't had a fiscal cycle to go through. You've just got here. So I think to hold you to, or blame you even for things they've done in the past is not fair.
Well,
But I think it's a going forward is what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So going forward, I don't, just off the top of my head, if there are certain things I think we all expect or hope that the heart can do. And for me, I don't see any need to reinvent the wheel if the things we want can be, some of the things, ideas we have and things we think you should be doing can be folded into what you're doing now. I don't see any need to reinvent the wheel and not keep doing what we've been doing.
But Commissioner Cottle, I guess my question is you're saying that the things that you want us to do, the board has made a determination about what they want to do and what they see as important. And February 23rd, there was, to formulate our work plans, there was, and I think, Mayor, you were on that Zoom community forum of almost 100 people, and we came to a conclusion by data about what our community wants. And when you read the data, because we did what you call jam boards and what they want out of our downtown, and the parade and stuff was not highly ranked in that stuff. I think it was like number 4, downtown activities. They want a walkable downtown with shop after shop after shop. That's an enjoyable experience for those of us who love to go shopping and go to a destination and go to a bookstore and then an antique store and then a junk store. That's what they're looking for. And they're looking for good restaurants. They want restaurants to come downtown Danville so they have a variety of choices. It wasn't that so anyway, just that again, you keep talking about what you want us to do, but we have a board that tells me what I need to be doing.
And I get that.
But you are completely right, Kevin. Completely right. It should be a collaboration, and that's exactly what this letter is that, and I thank you for saying that we haven't, I feel like we just got there. We just got back on our feet. We just got married. We're right there. It feels like we're so close to getting everything kind of back together, and you're completely right. It should be the city and the heart working together for this community. That's the mission.
And I think that can be done. It has nothing to do with this letter of accreditation, as I see it. And to Mary's point, unless I missed something, I heard nothing of her points that require this letter of accreditation.
She said about all of the education, training, and information. You have no idea, during the pandemic, we got huge amounts of things funneled to us, and we turned those straight around and funneled them straight out to our businesses to try
You can't get that from the National Main Street Program?
Well, but if we're not in the Kentucky Main Street Program, we're not in the National Main Street Program. They all work together.
I find it hard to believe that you're not going to have any information at all.
But I'm going to go back to, these are people who do Main Street every day, Main Street America. And it's amazing the education behind them and the daily work behind them. And you take their information and you can talk to the people in your community and the city and formulate a decision about how you want to move forward. Just one person telling you that this is the way it needs to be doesn't mean that that's the way it needs to be. It means that we need to get input. And as always, things change over even a course of 12 months. I just think, again, I fill out a questionnaire at the end of the year that says, have we attained all of the goals that the board has set for us? And have we done the criteria? And those are things that I enjoy filling out because the nerd that I am like measure sticks. I like measuring sticks. I want to know, have we done what we're supposed to do? And moving forward, are we going to do what the new ideals that are being gathered nationwide that's working, that we have access to? Now we're going to talk about those in our work plans, and are we going to be flexible with our work plans and understand that that's another type of idea out there that works in other communities, not just in Kentucky, because even though we're located in Kentucky, we are part of the United States of America, and there's a lot of communities out there. Go to Brevard, North Carolina, my favorite place to be if you've ever been there, and it is store after store, and they probably have 3,000 people in their community. But the draw is that they have hiking and the mountains, and they have a beautiful downtown that is store after store after store with wonderful restaurants, and just huge amounts of people come there. Unfortunately, we have service organizations that fill some of our city blocks, but I think there's ways to create a downtown, in addition to what the city manager said, the area where we're going to have to expand that downtown. But having access, and in addition, Mayor, I hope you got your letter, because I did send a letter to the mayor, and you probably haven't opened it yet.
No, I did.
Oh, okay. So I sent all of those letters out. And the other thing is that the Main Street, Kentucky Main Street Association, because we have an association, is working to help obtain a line item in the state budget that possibly could help Kentucky Main Street communities to have access to toolkit items and additional grant funding for their communities. But you have to be a Main Street community to have access to those things. So it's kind of like a special club. I know the city has to have, I know the city does this because I had to do it in the county. We had a relationship with the state. The state is a big organization with a lot of bigger minds as well, and a lot of, even, the League of Cities. There's a lot of people that do a lot of extra work to educate us. And that's what Main Street America does for us, the heart of Danville.
When was the last time?
And we're a member. We want to be a member. You're a member of KLC. We want to be a member of the Main Street organization.
And we get that. When was the last time that we received any funding from the state, be it either as a conduit to some national funding source?
And I don't think there was a lot of that, and simply you have to remember that there are different types of people. Of course, again, there has been a time when things have dried up. You know that, Mayor. There's not a lot of money available out there. The county couldn't find any money, and you all are having difficulty. But with ARPA and with this Build Back Better, there's going to be funding available, And we're hoping that we're going to be able to, and I've been monitoring that bill because there's a component in there about historic tax credits for, those buildings that we have downtown. They're trying to expand those. And that's the information I'm receiving specifically from Main Street America. Having a relationship with them as an accredited program. I'm not going to get that information. I'm going to have to dig that information up and find it myself if I don't have somebody that's guiding us through this, just like League of Cities does to you all. These are the things you all need to focus on when the legislature meets, and this is the details of that information. So, I mean, I have to do it. The city has to do it with certain things. We have to tell somebody we're doing our job, and that's what we're doing with the accreditation.
One of the things that jumps out at me, and again, our role is to take a topic and pick it apart.
That's good.
And you've got, I don't know if there's 28 cities listed here, but I can tell you what's not listed, and I'd like to really know more about this. Why is Owensboro not listed? Or Paducah, or Bowling Green, or Franklin, Kentucky, or Frankfort, Kentucky? Or
Paducah is an accredited Main Street program.
Okay, it wasn't listed here.
Paducah is affiliate program, so there's different levels. You can either be accredited or affiliated, or there's even a network program. You can still get access to the National Main Street America information. You don't have to be an accredited Main Street organization to get access to that. The suggestion is that what we learn when we travel, and we can travel, and we did, but we see things also. But what you learn is that as it relates to your community, when you're looking at how your strategy to go about doing things is, it has to fit your community when it comes to those organizations and those, there's not a one-size-fits-all. And I would just caution us to give our judgment away to the state agency by just saying that just to be accredited.
Yeah, this
Right,
seems,
to me, I would prefer to be more reliant on our interpretation of information on the outside world rather than, being dictated to you shall do these three
with
things.
flexibility and
Right.
more authority locally is what it seems to me. It seems like we have to call them, ask them, well, can we do this? How do we have to do it? And then they dictate how we have to do it.
And Commissioner Terry, and I think Mayor, maybe all of you have asked this question in roundabout ways, but I think succinctly you said, well, what happens if you don't approve this letter of commitment? And there have been a lot of talks about the approach of the heart and the 4 points or 4 approaches rather, that are the guiding posts of their work, which I think everyone is in support of, sounds like. And in overall support of downtown. The question
Without
is,
question,
if you do not pass or approve, rather, the letter of commitment, from a legal or technical organizational standpoint, those approaches don't have to be discarded. So, for instance, the Heart is a 501c3 that are guided by articles of incorporation and bylaws. And we could set up an organization today that would incorporate the aspirations in the 4-point approach, whether it's an accredited program or not. So the philosophy can remain unchanged, should remain unchanged.
And can't the 501c3 remain?
Oh, it would remain. No action you're taking today undermines the philosophy other than the accreditation. So the philosophy, the approach, the work should remain consistent based upon the articles of formation and the bylaws as they exist, which I've known and reviewed at various times throughout my tenure here. So in order to change that philosophy, that would not be impacted by this letter of commitment, whether it's approved or not. Furthermore, I think what's evident in the conversation today is that there's discussion of a lot of collaboration between the Heart as an organization and the state or even national program. But what seems relevant and pertinent is that collaboration needs to be very localized. And then the question is how best to approach that. I'm going to offer an alternative. Could an alternative be, instead of this letter of commitment with the state, couldn't the two organizations in a future meeting and a path forward come up with a letter of commitment between ourselves, absent state participation? See, it seems like the car is out of alignment to a degree, and there needs to be some reconciliation of that alignment to make sure the four wheels, oh, I like that. There's four wheels, there's 4 points to the approach, continuing that to get the car properly moving. And who's to say that if we took a more locally collaborative approach, that you could always resubmit for accreditation if the two parties deemed it necessary and critical to keeping the alignment, so to speak. I don't know if that's a path forward or not. That's just an aside to the legal structure that we have now, how the articles of formation and bylaws wouldn't change based upon your vote today, nor the vibrancy of the heart. There could be some other pieces that I know that the training is a piece that the heart does certainly appreciate, and access to information. However, if the city and heart could come up with their own commitment through our funding process that would adequately provide for those in other ways, you could achieve the same objectives locally as opposed to this format, if that's what it does in fact occur, is the point.
Yeah, and I would just totally concur with that, and actually had that note written down to suggest at some point, is that not being accredited, we need to figure out what our Main Street organization looks like and what our relationship with that Main Street organization is, and we have to work together. And that is not a one-way street,
I understand.
right?
I
Like,
understand.
that doesn't mean that, you know, the heart diverges from the other groups within the community, which has happened. So, I don't know.
Let me ask, once again, refresh my memory. Why we employ someone who is certified through CLG.
For our certified local government program, yes,
And why do we do that?
to maintain our certification,
Which is different from the
which is
Main Street.
related to historic preservation.
That's separate issue than the accreditation?
Totally separate issue.
Okay.
But
That
if we-
position formed because we had a very similar conversation some time ago where the Heritage Council came here and had a meeting in this very room and said, you shall do X, Y, and Z, or else we will strip your authority as a certified local government. So at that time, the commission said, will we have it or not? They said, you don't have a preservationist, you don't have the right people appointed to your board. There were a host of things. The city's position was the community was one that appreciated architectural heritage long before CLG status was even a thing, and we will be later, but they said, but if you want us, then you have to do this list of things. And at that time, it was the will of the commission to proceed in that manner. So that's why that position was hired. That used to be on staff with the Heart of Danville. But that's when the city took it in-house to be compliant with the CLG status. And that's when also we saw a robust, I guess, amendment approach to downtown in the historic district, the enforcement of the architectural standards, which were adopted, approved, and written with Heritage Council funds and expertise.
So may I ask why you're a member of the CLG if you can do that internally on your own and you have to comply with the checklist just like the same thing that
That's a great question, and that's one that I raised then, and I'll raise it again today.
the same philosophy.
Right.
You have a
Well-
everybody has a relationship.
Let me ask you a
Well,
question.
my point then, and my point again now, is that the city, other than receiving some training, the city receives no tangible benefit to its certified local government status. We have an Architectural Heritage Review Board that meets independently, assesses standards. The only difference is when this community makes revisions to those standards, they have to get them approved in Frankfurt prior to enforcing them.
So-
That's a layer that we have to jump through in order to have local control and revision to our ordinance.
So our next question again is, do we still maintain that? And
Well, I mean, and that's a conversation for another day.
Separate conversation.
But yes, that is something that commissions have talked about at various times.
One of the things I'd like to understand more, and I do not, is the impact on exposure to tax credits on the historic preservation if you're not certified local government. So that's a,
I can tell you that's a separate issue.
yeah, so I didn't see, and I appreciate that.
I haven't been down that road.
I've not looked into that aspect of it. But
And
but
it-
I do know that being on the historic register is critical to getting those tax credits, but.
You have to be on the
Correct.
register.
And then.
But
I-
that's also different.
But so far as I understand, then, that has no impact on the CLG.
Well, and I mean, and your certified local government does play a role, a significant role in actually promoting properties to be on the National Historic Register.
Correct.
And so there've been inventories, substantial work on inventories of properties that Joni House has done through her work. The inventory, they promote, they nominate properties to be on the National Register. And so that CLG status allows the city, through its Architecture Heritage Boards, to promote those properties and submit them to the state for, what do you say, appointment to that list.
Let me go back, if I may, to
No,
Mary's
thank you.
point about access to information, or maybe that was your point, Lisa. Because we have a CLG person, do they have access to the same information that, through the state, that an accredited program would have?
All I know is that
I don't
the city's CLG contacts are all within the Heritage Council. And so I don't know what their office situation looks like and what information they share back and forth. But I know that Bridget and Joni are in regular, consistent communication with the Heritage Council because of this certified local government status.
Right, a big piece of the CLG program is enforcing the KHC guidelines. That's tenet number one. And so you do get those resources in aiding in understanding what those guidelines are and helping you interpret what the requirements are, right? Which is what your architect does from the Heritage Council. They aid you in how to alter a building to accommodate a new business to consistent with what their own guidelines are. So that's why they want an architect on their side to come to your community to help you interpret that. It aids in the enforcement of the regulation that is tied to the Certified Local Government Program. The Historic Preservation Regulation is not tied to the Main Street Program, it's tied to the Certified Local Government Program. So the three main points is enforce appropriate state and local legislation for the designation and protection of historic properties. Establish an adequate qualified preservation commission and with staff, and establish and maintain a system to survey and inventory historic properties. All those things is what we do through our DHB and Joni's office.
One of the things that.
And your ordinances, your
No,
ordinances
it's
with
quite all
the
right.
legislation.
And I don't mean to dominate if anybody wants to jump in here, but one of the things that pops up in my head as a result of this conversation, which has been quite helpful and productive, is an understanding that there's strength in numbers. And if we work together, there's a lot we can accomplish, with or without this accreditation. The question that was, not question, but the comment was that if there is no letter of accreditation, then the Heart of Danville, as it stands, will have a discussion as to whether they want to continue to exist or not. And I would hope that is, I would hope that the Heart would be broader in its scope than whether they want to continue to exist or not. There's strength in numbers. And I just need to say that.
Thank you.
I
What-
have one. Oh, go ahead. No, you go
No,
first.
no, no, go ahead. Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Okay. I guess if I can see examples of the accreditation being a burden, I'd say no. If we're being handcuffed in any way, I'd say no. So I'd like to hear that. But this is why, while Mary's List does have some benefits, and I do see some benefits, and this is why. I followed CenterWorks and Plaid Elephant quite closely through the last year. They said, at least, and they saw benefits because they felt like they got education because they were accredited. That's what they're saying. I don't know if it's true or not. Information, training, the architectural resources to actually use and improve existing buildings on different floors. So those were the two groups that felt like accreditation was a benefit. I don't know if they could have gotten those resources elsewhere, but to improve and use existing buildings is a benefit. But on the other hand, I don't want us to be held back or handcuffed if this accreditation is a burden. So that's just where I am right now.
I would like to know, just because I've been to both of these places recently, Harrodsburg and Lawrenceburg. Accredited, not accredited? Neither one?
Kevin, you were getting ready to ask a question.
Oh, my question was, what was our budget for the HART this past fiscal year?
26, yeah, I don't know why. I rounded down.
26,000.
Yeah, 26,000.
And it's our name that goes on this agreement. So I guess, Marion, to answer your other question about, there's some things that we'd like, or I'd like, or everybody'd like. And that's why. It's because we have a financial and it's our name on the dotted line here. So there's some things I think it's reasonable for us to expect some, I don't know, consideration for the things we think are important. It's, as long as they fit within the guidelines. I think most of them have to do, the ones I hear about have to do with promotion. And I know you said you didn't hear much about the Christmas parade. I sure did.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and I'm not going to belabor that point,
That's good.
that's gone.
It's gone.
So, I hope
Until next Christmas.
Until, yeah, hopefully we'll. So, the other thing, I'll just tell you, my feeling right now is to approve the letter for another year and see how we do on some of these key points that we have concerns about and revisit it when you've had a year in, when you've had some time to maybe get some things turned around that have been left lacking for lack of a full-time executive director. I think, the collaboration and communication needs to be better, and I think this is a good start, and I don't know why we can't do this repeatedly throughout the year. I think the reporting, apparently, we get financials or some
Oh,
sort of.
absolutely.
I would like to get them. I don't get them that I know of, and the minutes I would like to get, just.
So can I funnel those to Ashley and she can send those out to you all?
That's normal, yeah.
Is that okay?
Yep.
And so, those are the things I would like to see are not huge, but I think there are things that are important, given the fact that, we don't give you a ton of money, but we do, considering what we give some other agencies, you get a pretty good piece. So,
Agreeable.
that's kind of where I am right now, and I don't have any idea how anybody else feels about that.
Well, and I'll jump in there, and I just personally feel that it is imperative, at least from my point of view, that the Heart of Danville commit to taking the lead or co-lead with the city on a Christmas parade and a Halloween, downtown Halloween. Like Commissioner Cottle, my ears are just now stopped ringing from the comments, and it doesn't matter in my mind whatever reasons the Heart chose. The fact of the matter is the city gets the blame for it. And so I would love a commitment today. That would help me out a whole lot. If the Heart of Danville said, you know what, we're going to pick that back up, that's our baby, we'll execute.
And it's not just about the Christmas parade, but this $26,000, that's tax dollars. That's the citizens' money.
Very well aware of that. I'm a county
We-
treasurer from the past.
We-
I understand that.
We know that. And we are the ones held accountable for how that money is used. So I've been saying this for years. The agencies that we have been allocating money to do not come back to us enough to let us know how that money is being spent. I also have been saying for 7 years that that money should not be just handed over for operational expenses of these entities. We should not be paying salaries with that money or paying electricity or anything else with that other than a specific project or capital improvement. So I look at this as allocating money on a project or activity basis. If the Heart of Danville comes up with an activity that's going to bring people downtown and you need $5,000 for it, then you come and ask us for $5,000. Tell us how it's going to work and what you need, and we will give it to you. Instead of just writing you a check for $26,000, we're not seeing those financials. You all are not coming back to us on a quarterly or regular basis and reporting back. And it's not just you. No one else is either. So it's our job to rein that in and make that happen. And I've been asking that for several years. So if we allocate $26,000, then it should just be, we've allocated that money and you come to us when you need however much of that money you need instead of writing out a check. It's about accountability. I don't think that all 12 of these points, which really there's more because number 8 has 7 under it. I just don't think that this letter has been fulfilled, and it's been rubber stamped for too many years without any questions being asked, and we should never do that just for the sake of doing it, and because we've always done it.
When I kind of go back to where I was just a moment ago in terms of if we're going to spend taxpayer dollars, I'd like to see this organization demonstrate use of those taxpayer dollars in its most visible previous activities, and that's the Halloween program and the Christmas parade. I thoroughly appreciate building inventories and working with businesses. That's kind of a given. But I'd very much like to see the public see the Heart of Danville, and that way, when we get questioned, what do you give them $25,000 for? Then I've got something tangible, visible that I can say these two things, because they don't see any value in the other things that we see.
Well, that's what you have to reiterate back to your public, are the things that you see.
Doesn't matter. Sorry, Mayor.
I understand that. I've
yeah.
done this for a long time, but
You know how it works.
I do know how it works. I'm not the board. I'm not the board. But you're asking me directly, can I answer that question the way, no, I'm not going to answer that.
Then let's have Ann Yeager.
I'm the chair of the board, and I can't just say, yes, the board will agree to do the Christmas parade, and the problem with Halloween is that we had one merchant who was willing, none of the merchants were willing to participate.
It's
in.
more than Halloween and
So,
Christmas.
But those are the
It's
ones
more
you're
than
asking
Halloween.
us to say yes.
Well, he's asking for
He's
Halloween
asking
and
for Halloween and
Christmas.
Christmas. So
Yep.
I'm addressing Halloween and Christmas at the moment. So I can't, because I'm just the chair, that's like having the mayor just say yes for the entire city commission.
Well, let me jump
So
back in here and say this.
I can't say yes for the
The
board.
city asked, we were, had an expectation that there was going to be Halloween, and we were just told no. But one of the tenets, number 9, is establish broad-based community support for the program, the public and private sector through financial contributions and volunteer support. I mean, it's all about promoting, and it's about getting people downtown, and we're just not compliant with the letter. And so then the suggestion that Stephen made does ring true, and I said, here we're debating it, and their board is telling you, we don't know that we're going to do what you're asking us to do, and you're in public giving them $26,000. I would suggest to take a pause and negotiate. Stephen's correct. I mean, it doesn't matter what I ask them to do if their board is in discussion with your board, you as a board, and you all don't agree as boards, the administrative staff, Mary and Earl, can't do a lot with that, right? So foundationally, there needs to be some navigation between what the city's expectation is for its downtown organization. That needs to be navigated, right? Because I'm not hearing agreement with that when I'm sitting here.
Well, I think that-
And just as staff, again, Mary and Earl can do the best we can, but we can't do a lot with that. And that's just the truth.
I guess that was the thought of the, giving it a year and then reassessing it. And if that's, turns out that those things aren't being done or can't be done, or the board doesn't want to do them, then we can do something else at that point. But I don't know. I just think that right now, it seems like it's getting a little more organized and maybe can be more diversified if they get things up and running like Mary wants to. So I'm willing to give them the year to do that anyway. So again, that's just me.
And then on a separate topic, I just absolutely love Stephen's idea of the letter commitment between ourselves and the Heart at the time of funding. I think that would be essential, as Denise stated, just to be accountable to our taxpayers and put out their expectations. But that, obviously, that's a different time, different discussion.
I think you're
I'm
completely
not sure
right.
that is a
That's a
separate
great-
discussion.
Well,
I
today's
think-
just this.
It's not. I think
Okay.
we should either sign this one or make our own, and I think we need to make our own.
Can we do both? Because this is a benefit to some.
That's what, I
And
think we take what,
Do both, at least give it a year.
yeah, if you take
Let's
what
give it a year.
Commissioner Cottle said and what you said and put it together, that's what you're saying.
Is that you're agreeing, when you sign the letter of intent, you're agreeing to fund that program.
But
No,
not a
hold
certain
on,
amount.
Hold on.
Right.
No, but funding
agreeing
is
to-
wide open, so you could give $100 for a program. So you're not, it doesn't say you have to fund the Heart of Danville. That's been one of our big goals, just like the mayor asked, to stand on our own 2 feet, to raise our own money, to all of these things, which in 2020, we didn't ask businesses for any money because we were in the middle of a pandemic. It didn't seem appropriate. So it was, we didn't do fundraising in 2020. We did one small telethon, because we were in the middle of a pandemic. Small businesses were not the ones we were going to hit for money.
When is this accredited program annual letter of commitment delivered each year? Is it delivered to the Heart of Danville? Is it delivered to the city?
The state sends it to us, and then we deliver it we send it to you all.
And when is that?
And I think we get it, early December. That's why
Early
I came
December.
before you all in December. Mhm.
But this is a commitment for January 15th. through January 30th of the next year. It's at the top of the page there.
But it needs to be discussed as soon as that letter of commitment is received.
We got pushed back this year because you all had some other things going on. We were on,
the agenda, but you all had a lot to do, and
Yeah.
so we were moved back. Sorry.
Well, I'll still be around hopefully for the month of December, and I'd definitely like to see that letter of commitment.
well, and I think you all have had a great idea on what Stephen said, is that I do think we need a better understanding, Commissioner Cottle, Holland, Mayor. I think having that understanding between the two of us, sorry, Denise, Honorable Denise, that having a better understanding, because that has been our communication, I'll be the first to admit, over the years, especially the past 5, I'm going before, pre-pandemic, I'd say 3 to 5 years, has been terrible. I'll be the first to, and that was one of the things, that's why generally every year, I'm the one who comes before you. I call and bug Earl and Ashley. I can't tell you how many times the mayor and I have met.
And you haven't listened to a thing I've said?
Well, I can't do things without the board, Mayor. That's just, I keep telling you that. I can't do it on my own. I'm not a one-woman show. It's the
Oh,
whole
yes,
board.
you are. You're a one-woman force.
It's the whole
ain't you?
board.
We know.
But we did listen to you because you said to stand on our own 2 feet, and that's what we've been working really hard on, is to make sure the Heart's standing on its own 2 feet.
So in your all, in the coming years, a little off subject, but since we're here, in this coming year of funding requests, do you intend to approach the county?
Yes. Mhm. The county uses Main Street in all of their advertising. That's what they use to draw industry here. And it changes completely. It's, along with the master plan and increasing downtown, using the assets that we have are so vital.
And so if
Turning,
the county uses it, what's the track record of contribution?
they quit funding the Heart years ago. They didn't see, and that was kind of a collaboration between the city and the county. They said, okay, you'll take care of the things in the city, we'll take care of things in the county. They fund Paravel, the county funds Paravel. I believe it was prior to you, Mayor, being mayor. But
Yeah, but I've been around a while.
the county
Can I
funds,
answer that question specifically? Do you want an answer to that? I can answer that question specifically.
Sure.
So,
And so you have a lot of influence with them.
The county has never funded the Heart of Danville except for individually. I was a member, the county judge typically was a member, and the magistrates were individually a member or family memberships. The only time the county basically funded was when we created that umbrella for the EDP, and everything was funneled through the EDP. So in essence, the Heart of Danville did not do a whole lot of fundraising because a lot of that money was coming from the county and from the city and from your sponsorships that were all under, because I analyzed that budget every year, loved it, thought it was very interesting. But it was all under this umbrella, and then the EDP allocated that money out to Perryville, the Heart of Danville, Chamber of Commerce got money, and then EDP and tourism didn't get so much money, but they did get services from individuals because they are a taxing entity of their own. So once the city and the county and EDP brought in that consultant to do that review, you know, keep in mind that relationship went on for what, 8 years? Can you remember that? Was it 8 years? I've been one of the oldest ones here. It was all funneled under that for probably 8 to 10 years.
10 years, I think.
More 8 years. And then all of a sudden, this consultant said, oh, by the way, it's recommended that the entities separate out and you all kind of stand on your own. Is that what the consultant indicated?
That's not what I recall.
The suggestion is that all those organizations do their own fundraising.
Right.
Which is their own,
Right.
fundraising is defined as private contribution.
So that answers that question. So then all of a sudden, and at that time, then the Heart of Danville was creating a budget as sole 501c3 again, not a cumulative budget where everybody prepared their budgets and were part of a whole budget. So now you're pulling everybody back out again. That wasn't any more than, 3 years ago. Let's keep that in mind because, there wasn't that big push to have to fundraise with your businesses downtown because there wasn't the need at that time. Good relationships, good communication, as well as with the city, but not specifically in fundraising. So now we have to stand on our own 2 feet. That's what the consultant said. That's what EDP voted to do. And so the Chamber of Commerce had a hard year that first year. The Heart of Danville had a difficult year. We haven't been able to keep a director to do the proper fundraising that's required to build that surplus up. I mean, we're talking about 3 years and we're trying to, when you don't have a director and you're trying to do mailings and it's hard for people who work a regular job, who are volunteers, to continually do fundraising. So with that being said, the county's never given money and we've approached them every year, but they haven't, and even while I was there, the Heart of Danville always submitted an application of request. But typically, the thought process with the county is we're not adding anybody. In fact, they're just like the city. You're trying to make the best out of your tax dollars and are weaning people off of having tax money as administrative monies. So we're working on trying to do fundraising, and we started in November.
Seeing how this is a public meeting, I'm going to encourage my brethren at the county to join with the city and go two-handed at it. If it's funding, that's the issue. We're way off subject. I apologize.
Thank you for listening to me.
Well,
And
and I
Mayor, too,
guess
and
my question is.
We may have had a different understanding on that too. When we'd reviewed county-city kind of cooperative engagements over the years, historically, we'd always had on the list that the Heart was something that was funded. My memory was like at a $50,000 mark, and that was a joint participation agency with the city and the county. Now, maybe those were funded different ways, but it was my understanding that it was always a $25,000 for a total of 50. And maybe it was allocated in a manner in which the city invoiced the county for something and then county got, or to the ED, I don't know what, but that was one of the issues that when, under the prior arrangement, when the EDP was formed and the EDP took the funds under its umbrella, that was a source of contention, my memory was, for the Heart, because it lost some of that independent jurisdiction and kind of gumption of its own. So that was a turning point in the organization. I think everybody can point to that. But prior to that time, it was my memory anyway that there was participation with the county, from the county, although it may have been in an indirect manner.
That must have been an EDP decision internally with the county as opposed, because the county treasurer never knew about that.
Well, we funded, the Heart and the county was funded at different levels before the EDP. I remember that.
No, we never funded the Heart.
Yeah, the city funded at a higher level than the county when the EDP was formed. I'm pretty sure that money was embedded in that contribution.
The city funded, but the county didn't directly fund. So we were not a line item in the county's budget. We were in the cities. And then the money went into the EDP, and then it reverted back to payments from the city.
I believe the funding may have occurred before EDP.
The city's always funded the Heart.
I'm talking about the county.
No,
Oh.
I can honestly say there was no funding from the county to the Heart of Danville. I would stake my reputation on that.
So was there funding to, again, was there funding to the EDP on behalf of the Heart of Danville?
There was funding to the EDP, but there was never a fiscal court meeting. There was always funding to the EDP, but there was never a fiscal court meeting where they said that we're going to fund EDP and part of this money is going to the Heart of Danville. That never happened in a fiscal court meeting.
So my question is, if we're going to do our own letter of commitment, why would we keep a second one and filter it through Frankfurt when, if we are directly working with each other and collaborating, we can better assist the heart with activities and projects directly? Why would we continue to filter that through Frankfurt?
Same reason why you keep your CLG.
Yeah, I don't completely agree with that. And you know, activities and economic vitality is more than a Christmas parade and trick or treating. It's activities, not necessarily events, but events are included in that, that bring people as a community together. Now, whether that's Food Truck Friday, food truck rallies, other parades besides Christmas, you know, Oktoberfest, yeah, the Bourbon Chase, I mean, you name it. That's what brings people downtown, and that's what brings people together.
I said I was outside for the Bourbon Chase all day.
What did you say?
I said I was outside I was out in the Bourbon Chase all day long, working.
We'll make that a art function.
We already work with the city and on the Bourbon Chase. We already do that. We worked for the past however many years, we worked with the city and the county, and we worked, all of our meetings this year were myself, Josh, CVB. It originally funneled through CVB. The city got much more involved this year. It was a great collaboration. The chamber, in fact, it was Jeff, Josh, and Alethea and I that were out all night. There are pictures. You can look on my Facebook page, my Instagram. In fact, I got a great picture of Baker as they were picking up tables in the middle of the night.
But
It's
we
one of your
can set
public
that,
works.
we can set all that directly. We can do a letter of commitment and list a calendar if necessary. I just don't see the need to filter it through Frankfurt. I just don't.
One of the big advantages in the past of being associated and accredited was access to federal dollars. Those federal dollars are no longer out there, unless you go through some kind of specified grant, but I don't know of anyone that has gotten any substantial funding like we used to. And that's unfortunate, but that's the economics at the federal level. And maybe that'll change, maybe it won't, I don't know. Just a comment and perspective.
So I respectfully, once again, ask that you all sign the letter of commitment for, I like Kevin's, Commissioner Cottle's idea for 1 year. And I hope that in this year that we can work on our communication and how we work together and hopefully bring in some things that really move the needle for downtown. It would mean a lot to our board to have the support of the city.
But you do have the support of the city.
But in this way, shape, and form, they have been working so hard, and they do believe in the accreditation, just as you believe in your CLG. So that's why I ask it. That's why I tell you it would mean a lot to our board. It just would.
Well, according to the dates on here, we actually have until January 30th to make this decision. And I would personally like to have some more time to think about this and maybe put it on our agenda for the 24th or, you know, a special call meeting if needed for that.
Yeah, we can do
I'd
that.
like to clarify that that's actually my deadline is to turn in my paperwork by the 15th, postmarked by the 15th. And my checklist includes the letter of commitment with that packet.
We've been in violation of that letter for the last 2 years. So
Oh, no, we
if they want more time, I'd suggest giving them to them.
Shame on you.
Well, I mean,
We haven't,
that's
we
just a
turned it in on
fact.
time. We turned it in on time last year.
Well, in terms of, we've not had a director for 2 years. Like, there's all kinds of conditions in the letter that
also-
were
but
in
we also had
violation.
permission-
And so,
Yeah.
two more
We're in
weeks ought to be
violation of
fine.
this anyway.
Correct, right. I would
And we
suggest,
continue to send it in saying
there was
we're in
also a more-
compliance when we're not.
So there's also a moratorium during the pandemic. There was grace given to all programs because so many, just like everything else, we were in a pandemic. Nobody could function.
Everybody's been in a pandemic,
That's what I'm
Ann.
saying, but that's what I'm saying. There was a we had grace through the state. Everyone did, just like everything
Okay,
else.
but before that, we were still not in compliance.
Who mandated the moratorium?
The moratorium.
Yeah, you used the word moratorium.
Know that there was grace given during the pandemic. Did I say moratorium? I didn't, if I said the word moratorium, I meant that
You
there
meant
was grace given.
crematorium.
We've been in contact constantly because when we haven't had a director, that's what we've been using, is we've been using the state to help guide the board, because when you're a board who doesn't have a director and you're in the middle of a pandemic and all of a sudden you're in that oh shit moment that we were in 2020 of what do you do now? That's who we went to. We went to the state for help, and they gave us tons, education for our board, programs, things that we could help. We reached out to across the country, other programs, and we pulled as many things as we could to help our downtown businesses. So that's what the board did when we didn't have, and we were in the middle of a pandemic, so it's not like it didn't seem logical to try to hire someone and that wouldn't, nobody, when it started, we all thought it was going to be weeks, not months and years. We had no idea we'd still be wearing masks. If you told us all back then, we'd have all thought you were crazy. So,
But it goes back to
that's who we relied on when we were without a director, is we relied on the state so that we could continue to move forward and rebuild the heart from a foundational level. And that's what we've been doing for the past 2 years.
Well, we've been at this for an hour and 53 minutes. Chair will entertain a motion at your leisure.
I move that we approve the letter of commitment with the Heart of Enamel for another year, or with a, however that reads, Kentucky Main Street Program.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Cottle, second by Commissioner Holland. So I guess now formally we are in discussion.
Nothing more to
Discuss
say.
that.
I need to go get my snack out of the
Nothing more to
car.
say.
That's why we listen to agenda items, discussion.
You okay?
No further questions or comments?
roll call it.
Hmm?
Are you going to roll call?
Is that your request?
Yes.
Then roll call, please.
Commissioner Cottle?
Yes.
Commissioner Terry?
No.
Mayor Paris?
I'm going to qualify my vote. I want this annual letter of commitment. If the vote is affirmative, I want this annual letter of commitment delivered to the city 1st of December. And we're going to review. And we're going to review hard. And if I can, Commissioner Cottle, if I could add that to your motion.
That's fine. No, I think that's the point, is to,
I'm just
Make
wanting to
sure
make
we're
a
all-
firm commitment for the record. Are you good for that second?
Very, very,
that's good.
Okay.
absolutely.
With that modification, I will vote yes.
Commissioner Holland?
Yes.
Now, that said.
This
you
is
have
about
homework.
accountability.
That said, you have homework, and we want to see it. And for me, that includes visible homework. That includes a Christmas parade, that includes Halloween, that includes anything else, Bourbon Chase or whatever. Want the heart out there. And whatever, if your board decides not to do that, then so be it.
you know,
If
being
your
the
board
small town
decides
girl.
not to do that, then
I
so be
hear,
it.
I hear exactly what you say.
Okay.
Let me qualify in saying, number one, thank you to the commissioners. Number two, in saying that, and this is a side note, a personal and Yeagerism, if you want it. My dream is to have Main Street look like a flippin' Hallmark movie. I would love nothing more than it to look like trees all the way down the street. That's my dream in life. It's honestly kind of
And
why I
we share
joined
the
the
same
heart.
dream. I want Whizziger Park to be a winter wonderland. Or
I want both. I want
Fourth of
Constitution
July.
Square and Whisker Park, and I want to shut down
Let-
the street.
let me-
Have
every,
snow.
every
Let me-
occasion,
let me
we could
address something if I
decorate
could.
Whizziger Park.
What's that?
Let me address something if I could.
Okay, he said yes.
The market is the market. And if people choose to fill their storefronts with service organizations, you don't have any control over that unless there is some major economic incentive
You do, though.
to do differently.
You can help with that.
How so?
Incentives on the front end and ordinances on the back end. It's what lots of cities do in order to keep their downtowns vibrant. I'm going to bring you all that information, so don't worry, okay? We got it for you,
Look forward to reading that.
okay?
And let me say, my no vote is because if nothing changes, everything stays the same.
True.
This is not a change for me. I want to see a change. I want to see a change.
And that's what we look forward to with you all, is that's what this commitment is working together. And I hope that we can sit down and put together our own, just like Commissioner Cottle and Holland and Stephen came up with, you're right, we do. We need a commitment to each other.
And you
And
have
let
to
me
communicate
suggest-
with us.
Let me suggest you do that real soon, because we are getting ready to get into a period we call budget period.
I understand completely.
I think at the end of the day, I hate that phrase, our interests are aligned. So what's good for the heart is good for the city, and what's good for the city is good for the heart. So let's be visible. Let's be organized. Let's share that organization with the staff and the commission, and we can review.
Communicate.
We voted to review the 1st of next December.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for your time.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion's made to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.